I've heard an argument made about the current and upcoming Xbox console. Now that argument's a bad one. So what I like doing is I like throwing wrenches into bad arguments. It's it's like a cheap way to steel man or something like that. It's not even it's not even low effort in my own opinion. But I want to ask a very simple question because I remember when the ROG Ally X and the Asus ROG Xbox ROG Ally X were being compared. Some people kept claiming that the Xbox Ally X is not an Xbox or whatnot. Now, that particular claim has died because once we started showing them things like, say, the Asus 4090 versus the NVIDIA 4090, that kind of put a wrench in the argument. Remember that picture that I put up on the YouTube page where I went ahead and I showed and I said, hey, man, which one is a 4090? So this image itself, not a single person that has been making the argument about the ROG Ally X and the Xbox Ally X has actually said anything. Because if they dare say anything, they're going to literally put a big, huge piece of wood in the spokes of their bicycle wheels. You know that kind of thing where you sabotage your own argument? That's exactly what this is. Now, the second piece of this conversation is the operating system running on it. I've been seeing some elements say this device, this Xbox Ally X is going to have Windows operating system running on it. Therefore, it's not going to be a traditional Xbox console. In fact, Digital Foundry is one of those that actually made such a claim. And it kind of, got me thinking. So you mean to tell me that Microsoft taking a change in their operating system is not going to count for the device being what they're calling it, like an Xbox or not? Is this something that is subject to some kind of a standard out there? But then I also realize that this is also a very stupid argument. Because, for instance, if, say, Apple were to make a move and say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and take our iPhones and we're going to give you a full-blown Mac experience on there. We're not going to hold back a lot of the functionality because we want you to pretty much be able to, across the board, just execute on all kinds of stuff while still adding the capability to make phone calls, text message, FaceTime, and even still use your mobile apps. So basically, all you got to do is you got to switch to a Mac mode, and then it would just be pretty much launch, say one of the Mac OS versions that we've scaled down for your mobile device. So now you have a bigger access. You can connect it to a keyboard. You can do all this, and they're giving you all this functionality. None of these people are going to tell you that that device is no longer an iPhone. In fact, it is the prerogative of the manufacturer of the hardware to choose whichever software that they want to use on the hardware. The operating system is their choice, it's their prerogative, and they can do whatever they want with it. This is the understanding that the Xbox device, the Ally X, and even the future Xbox devices that are going to leverage Windows need to be seen in. If they're seen in a different light, especially coming from a source like Digital Foundry, which honestly, I really did think that they were, in a sense, very, very mistaken in the way that they categorized, the entirety of the Xbox's Ally X presentation. It seemed like they just had some agenda more than actually being in a position that they wanted to pursue what the truth was and what the details were about that device. Gamescom is coming up. The device is going to be shown there. And a lot of people are still kind of, in a sense, asking themselves, is this device really going to be, an Xbox? Yes, it is an Xbox. Xbox has decided that they're going to make this device and they're going to implement it alongside Asus and AMD to go ahead and, make sure that it's fully functional and give you a UI that makes things simple for you. Just because it has the Asus branding on it doesn't change that. If anything, it's distinctive. Asus is not going to make an Xbox a handheld device that looks like this. Yes, it carries the button. Yes, it carries the elements and some of the things, the screen and all. But the Xbox Series X itself also carries elements that AMD designed and put in there. In fact, the hard drive, the external hard drive that Xbox actually uses, who makes it? Isn't it like Seagate that makes it? So are we now going to say because, Seagate made the Xbox external storage device that it's not an Xbox storage device? You have to be crazy to allow for that line of thinking to overtake the thing that you already know is true. But you see, Xbox gets a different kind of treatment from Xbox fanboys and those that are biased against them. And this is why you almost always have to filter. This is why I have YouTube video security. This is why I can make multiple videos on YouTube each day, because there are just so many misconceptions to clear up, and I might as well get, compensated in one way or the other. Not like it's crazy compensation. It could be better doing it. And so, in my opinion, I think we're at this point where if you let this, idea run wild and run free, you're going to pretty much put yourself in a position where you're letting people deceive you. Digital Foundry, their assessment as to saying that because the Xbox Ally X is not going to have the traditional Xbox OS, so you question the proposition, and I think it was Oliver Mack or who, that's disingenuous, and that was a faulty conclusion. Reforge Gaming making that same presumption as well as the other PlayStation-centric folk who've made this. You all have tried to deceive people, and you have no consumer focus. If you did, you'd be honest and say, well, this is not the traditional system in terms of the operating system you've had, but it's a new operating system in the sense that they're taking Windows, which is an existing operating system, and modifying an interface for you to be able to enjoy your gaming similar to what you have on the Xbox operating system. That's exactly what this is. But for those of you that have actually made it seem like, oh, it's Windows and this, you're trying to obfuscate because you now realize that Microsoft is now harnessing its biggest card against PlayStation. Subverting the entire walled garden has been PlayStation's way of making itself distinctive from Xbox. Xbox is now taking that away. And what does PlayStation have? Nothing to offer. Whereas those of you who are in the space that can talk about these things, you refuse to talk about them in that light, telling people and saying, hey, it appears that PlayStation might need a new distinctive, but no, you instead go in there and say things that even confuse more because you pretend to be confused. And a tech channel like Digital Foundry sitting there in those talks and in those videos, acting like they don't know what really is going on. Oh, this is a departure and blah, blah, blah. Not wanting to acknowledge the play, because that's exactly what that was. That play really did break everybody's minds. So here's the reality. As Xbox is coming to the market with this device, you're going to hear more and more of a loud roar. It's not a console. Even though Asus has tagged its previous device, the Rogue Ally and Rogue Ally X, a handheld console PC, and this Xbox Ally X is also going to be a handheld console PC, as they are now the standard in terms of what they've named it. Steam was a little shy trying to name theirs a console, but it is a console. It carries an OS to basically carry a specific task out, which is gaming. And so the Steam Deck's a console as well as the other handheld. I mean, sure, the Nintendo Switch is a handheld, but by golly, we also call it a console, don't we? And so when you kind of think about it, it is all in play to let you realize and let you know that right now, the gaming conversation when it comes to Xbox is pretty much led by what I call dishonesty. We call it Xbox tax, but it's actually dishonesty. That's what it is. And if we are in a position where that dishonesty is basically running free without accountability, then we're in deep trouble understanding the consumer side of it. Because the consumer should be the importance. If you have a microphone and you're talking about gaming, at the end of the day, the consumer should be your focus. Why? Because the consumer is more than likely going to support you, the content creator, the streamer, the whatever it is. You're streaming a game. You're showing them the game. You're talking about the game. You're talking about hardware. You're talking about the market, the business. It is all consumer-centric so that the consumer benefits from it. And it's surprising to me that these elements would attempt to mislead the consumer because they have an agenda. What a shame.